Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. We're now on to discussing homework for Unit 8, Lines and Planes. But before I actually jump straight into showing you some solutions, I want to actually give you a taste of the theory on this unit, which is quite beautiful actually, and elegant in that regard. I also believe that you'll be enlightened a lot on how I solve certain problems and I think about certain problems if you get a taste of the theory. So I highly recommend watching these next two parts before you dive straight into looking at the homework review. Okay, so let's begin. So again, we're talking about the theory on lines and planes. And I want to start with outlining two goals I have for these next two videos. And I'm going to break down each video tackling one goal. So for this video, goal 1. How do we define a unique line or plane? Okay. So when I say unique, I'm talking about, I don't want there to be any ambiguity between me and let's say some other character, Bob, that we're talking about the same line. We should be, if we have some mathematical description of a line, Bob should not be thinking of some different line and I'm thinking of a different line, right? We should all be talking about the same line. So we want to all be on the same page. So that's goal 1. Goal 2 will be, is the description we give, so is this description sufficient? Or is it like enough to tell us about all points on the line or plane? So the first question kind of asks us, what information do we need to have to actually pin down one line or plane? The next question asks, whatever information we got from goal 1, is that enough to tell us about every single point on the line or plane? Because that's at the end of the day what we want, right? If we have some mathematical object, we want to have every property of it and all the things we can possibly know about it. In this case, for a line and plane, we want to know about all the points on the line or plane, right? So we'll focus our attention on goal 1 for this video. Let's begin. I guess before I begin, I want to loosely define what I'm going to be talking about in this video as a direction. I'm going to make this more concrete in the next video, but this is in air quotes. So a direction, in this sense, we're going to think about, imagine a bug living in some space, constrained to travel along some trajectory. Okay, and you'll see that more concretely when I start drawing. So now we can talk about some lines in 2 and 3 dimensions. So I'm going to use this idea of a direction, loosely defined. So imagine you have this direction, let's say, and you're a bug that lives along this line. In your world, if you can only travel along this direction, what makes this direction, in a sense, different from this one? Right? As a bug, you wouldn't really see much difference. If if this is your entire world, this line, quite a sad world, I guess, but a bug on this line would see the same way, right? They would have no difference in distinguishing their worlds. We have other lines as well, right? Here, here, here. In fact, you have an infinite number of them. Infinite number of these directions. So how can we pin down one? If we want to be all talking about the same line, how can we pin down one? Well, it's not enough to just have a direction. We need a single point for one of these directions to cross. So if I say this point, now everyone is certain that we are talking about this line in particular. All these other lines no longer matter. So from an infinite number of these directions, by choosing one point, I was able to pin down one line. Okay? So that means the parameters I need to define a line in 2 dimensions would be one direction, and not the band. I hope someone got that joke. And one point. All right. Well, let's move to 3 dimensions. Let's see if this the same parameters that we needed to define a line in 2 dimensions still hold in 3. So again, we have this idea of a direction. Let's say it's going like this, right? And we have some bug, and his whole world is just this line. But again, this bug, if he were on, let's say, this direction, he won't be able to distinguish it. It looks like the same world to him, or this one, or this one, or this one. In fact, there's an infinite number of them again, right? So how can we all talk about the same line? Well, again, if we just choose a single point for one of these directions to cross, now we have effectively pinned down one line in 3 dimensions. Again, so from an infinite number of lines, again, we were able to pin down one unique one by choosing one direction and a single point. Okay. So again, the same parameters we need in 3 dimensions to define a line. One direction, and one point. Okay. Let's move on to talk about planes now. Okay, so for planes, obviously we can only talk about planes in 3 dimensions, because if we were to talk about them in 2 dimensions, that's the whole grid, right? That's the whole Cartesian plane. Meaning our lives are made a bit easier as we live to talk in 3 dimensions. Okay, so from previously, we know that a single quote-unquote direction will not be enough to define a plane in 3 dimensions, because that can help us pin down almost a line. Almost. You still need a point. So let's try 2 directions, in a sense, in air quotes. Let's say I have this one, and maybe this one. Okay. That gives us 2 directions, in a sense. And then together, you can think of it, this plane being like this. Okay. But in the same way, these 2 directions are not enough still, because now you can imagine infinite parallel sheets of these below. Kind of hard to draw this, but there's an infinite number now of these sheets. So in the same way, I need to pin down a single plane, so we're all talking about the same plane. I'm going to need one point for the plane to cross. So if, let's say, it's this point, now we're all on the same page. We're all talking about the same plane. It's this guy. So the parameters I need to talk about a plane are 2 of these directions and 1 point. Okay, so that completes our discussion of goal 1. We now have an idea of the information we'll need to define lines and planes in 2 and 3 dimensions. In the next video, we'll check if this is actually enough. Can we talk about every single point on the line or plane? Well, I'll hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day, everyone.